What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Slayer oriented video. Surprise, surprise, right? Well, it is my channel and Slayer is obviously my favorite skill, and I'm trying to think as many possible ways to make your Slayer experience easier, so here we go. So I've gotten a request to do a video like this quite a few times in the past, I don't know, a couple months maybe. So this video is basically going to be what should you kill instead of something else. Pretty simple, right? More to the point, if you're an efficiency slayer, I promise you this video is not for you, because this video is entirely about making as much money as you possibly can. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So the first kind of slayer that I'm going to start out with is going to be Wilderness Slayer and the Wilderness Slayer bosses. Now they're not necessarily slayer bosses, but they are bosses that you can do while on a slayer task. The first one I'm going to start out with is going to be Callisto. Now Cristelia in Edgeville assigns tasks that can only be done in the wilderness and will give you a boatload of points for each task, each 10th, 50th, 100th, and so on task. Now, Cristelia does assign a decent amount of bears, which can be somewhere around 100 or 90. Now, if you are assigned a bear task, you can actually kill Callisto pretty much as many times as you have it as the task, and if you want to, you can use the Slayer helmet for that plus 15% boost to melee and range and magic if you have it imbued. Now, the benefit of killing Callisto is actually that it drops two items that are pretty decent for price. The Dragon Pickaxe, which is only a drop rate of 1 in 171, goes for around 5.1 mil right now, and the Tyrannical Ring is a ring for crush bonus, and that goes for about 2.1 mil. It's dropped at a rate of 1 in 512. Along with all of the other drops, Callisto does have a decent average drop price. I don't exactly know what it is, but if you kill Callisto, you're bound to make way more money from killing bears, which you will get bones, bear fur, and some bear meat from. Up next is going to be Scorpions and Scorpia. So Cristelia does assign Scorpions as a task, and you can get a decent amount. And if you do want to do some bossing and make a little bit more money, you can do the demi-boss Scorpia, which is located in the deep, deep wilderness east of the Magic Axe Hut. Now, the benefit of killing Scorpia is only 2 drops, the Odium Shard 3 and the Malediction Shard 3, which are worth 1.1 mil and 1.4 mil respectively at the time of this video. Now, that's not really much to go out there risking really deep for, but does have a chance of dropping the pet at 1 in 2,000. That is a pretty cool pet. Most of the people that I personally know only do Scorpia to try to get the pet. Coming in next is going to be Spiders and Venenatus. Now, obviously, Venenatus is a giant spider, so if you were assigned a spider task by Cristelia, you can kill Venenatus. Now, the benefit of killing Venenatus, just like Callisto, is obviously more money. Venenatus also drops the Dragon Pickaxe at a rate of, again, 1 in 171, and it's worth 5.1 mil at the time of this video. Venenatus also drops the Treasonous Ring, which is the cheapest wilderness ring, but it will boost your stab by +4 or +8 if it's imbued. Now, this ring only goes for 771k, but it can help you out at the Corporal Beast or if you're doing Rune Dragons with a Rapier or a Hasta. Rest of the drops, they are pretty good averages. Venenatus does have some pretty good drops on the table, such as 100 Grimy Snapdragons, which is worth a whopping 1 million GP. And last but not least for the wilderness bosses is going to be Vedion and Skeletons. Now, if you are assigned a skeleton task by Cristelia, you can kill Vedion. Vedion is a kind of annoying wilderness boss, but it can be well worth it if you do hit one of his notable drops. Just like the other wilderness bosses, Vedion does drop the Dragon Pickaxe at the same rate as Callisto and Venenatus. The Ring of the Gods is what you're really looking for at Venenatus. Currently, it's worth about 13.5 mil, and it will boost your prayer by +4 or +8 if it is imbued. Once again, very similar to Venenatus and Callisto, you can also get some very notable drops, such as 100 Grimy Renar Weeds from Vedion, which is worth around 850k. Some other stuff for U-Seeds and Magic Seeds, Magic Logs, etc., etc. But that is going to do it for the wilderness bosses that you can do instead of a lesser task. Now we're going to move on into the actual Slayer bosses. These are going to be Slayer NPCs that actually have a boss variant. First up for the Slayer bosses is going to be the most recent Slayer boss, which is the Grotesque Guardians. Now, the Grotesque Guardians are stronger gargoyles and their boss variant. Now, it's very debatable whether it's worth it or not to do these because they are roughly around the same GP per hour as normal gargoyles. Previously, they did have their HP nerfed by 25% because they were actually worse money than normal gargoyles, but now they're right around the same in my opinion. The Grotesque Guardians do drop the Granite Gloves, which are worth around 600k, Granite Ring that's pretty useless, which is 55k, and a Granite Hammer that is 1.2 mil. They also drop the Black Tourmaline Core, which when used with Bandos boots creates the Guardian boots, which are pretty decent boots if you can't afford Primordials. And last but not least, their pet is Noon, which in my opinion is one of the coolest pets in the game. Personally, I only do the Grotesque Guardians for chance at the pet. Up next is going to be the Abyssal Sire and the Abyssal Demons. Now, Abyssal Demons on their own, they're not very good money unless you're lucky enough to grab one of those 1 in 512 whip drops. If you do, maybe you get one on a task and make a few mil. But as far as the Abyssal Sire goes, the drop table is very good and the boss really is not that hard to learn. Obviously, you will have to have level 85 Slayer and be on a Slayer task to fight the Abyssal Sire. As for the drops for the Abyssal Sire, you have to get an Unsired, which is dropped 1 in 100 times from the Abyssal Sire, and you will use this on a pool, which will grant you a Bludgeon Piece, an Abyssal Dagger, an Abyssal Head, Abyssal Whip, or the pet. Up next is going to be the Cave Kraken and the Cave Kraken boss. Now, if you get a Kraken task, you should always be doing the Cave Kraken boss. The Cave Kraken boss is very easy to kill. You really don't have to do anything. Put on some magic defense gear, grab a Trident of the Seas, Swamp, or a Sanguinesti Staff, and literally just click it and stand there. Now the Cave Kraken boss does drop the Kraken Tentacle, which when paired with the Abyssal Whip creates an Abyssal Tentacle, which is a decent amount stronger than the normal whip. It also drops a Trident of the Seas, which is fully charged with 2500 casts at a rate of 1 in 512, and it also has its own pet at a rate of 1 in 3000. Next NPC is going to be Cerberus and the Hellhounds. Now the Hellhounds aren't actually a Slayer monster, but Cerberus is a Slayer only boss. You have to be on a Slayer task to kill Cerberus, and you will need level 91 Slayer. Now the benefits of killing Cerberus are obviously much better loot compared to the Hellhounds, 0 loot and 1 in 32,000 chance of grabbing a Smoldering Stone. As for Cerberus, Cerberus drops the different stones to make the best in slot boots, which are Primordial, Pegasian, and Eternal boots. And these are all dropped at a rate of 1 in 512, along with the Smoldering Stone, which can create an Infernal Pickaxe or an Infernal Axe. So you have a 1 in 512 chance of getting one of these specific stones, or you have a 1 in 128 chance of getting any one of them because they're all on the same table. And last but not least, for the Slayer bosses is going to be the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil. Now the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil drop table, it's not too stupendous, but it does drop the Smoke Battle Staff at a rate of 1 in 512, as well as the Occult Necklace at a rate of 1 in 350. It also drops a Dragon Chain Body at a rate of 1 in 2000, but that's pretty rare, and if you're there, you're probably not there for that. Now, as far as bossing goes, it's very debatable whether you come here for money or come here for fun or just for the pet. Personally, for me, I had the pet, died, and lost it, so now I only go back just to try to get the pet back. Now these next two are more just Slayer NPCs rather than Slayer bosses because they do require a Slayer level to kill, but they are better to kill than their normal variants. First up is going to be the Black Dragons and the Brutal Black Dragons, which require a level of 77 Slayer. Now you're definitely going to want to be killing Brutal Black Dragons if you have a decent range level because they drop way more stuff than the regular Black Dragons, which only drop bones, hides, and a Rune Longsword every now and then. As far as the Brutal Black Dragons go, they do drop a lot of runes, a lot of dragon dart tips, dragon arrow tips, and miscellaneous other stuff such as rune items. Depending on which weapon you're using, you can probably see anywhere from 600k to 1.1 mil profit per hour. On the bottom end, you'll be using the blowpipe, high end, twisted bow, and somewhere around the middle, dragon hunter crossbow. This next one is debatable, but in my opinion, this is what you should probably do. Now, if you are assigned a Fossil Island Wyvern task, I would suggest that you kill the Ancient Wyverns because they do have the best drop table out of all 4 of the Wyvern breeds from Fossil Island. They do drop some decent stuff, and they do have the chance of dropping the Magic Dragonfire Shield. Now, is it really worth it? May or may not be. If you do have a Dragon Hunter crossbow, it probably will be worth your time because it does shred the Ancient Wyverns. As far as the other ones go, their drop table is kind of crappy. They don't drop much. And, well, if you're going to camp something like a Wyvern, might as well just go to Skeletal Wyverns. And now last, we can go ahead and jump into bosses that aren't actually Slayer bosses, but their normal variants can be assigned as a large Slayer task. Up first is going to be Aviansies and Kriara, the Armadillo boss. Now this does require a Slayer unlock, which you can talk to any Slayer master for, spend some points, and be able to be assigned Aviansies. Now the reason that you want to kill Armadillo over the Aviansies is because of the outrageous price of the Armadillo chestplate, which is 42.5 mil, and the Armadillo chain skirt, which is 35.1 mil at the time of this video. The helmet is also 4.4 mil, but nobody really wants the helmet, let's be real. Now the drop rate for these is 1 in 384 for a specific piece, or 1 in 128 for any piece, which is pretty good odds to get yourself a nice chunk of change. Up next is going to be the Black Demons and Demonic Gorillas. Now the Demonic Gorillas are actually considered a demi-boss, but close enough. Now you're going to definitely want to be killing Demonic Gorillas over the Black Demons if you have Monkey Madness 2 completed, because average loot per hour is about 1 mil unless you get a Zenyte drop, which Zenyte drops are 1 in 300, and depending on how the market is looking, you can see anywhere from 10.5 to 13 mil on a Zenyte drop. So it's definitely worth your time for a 1 in 300 drop rate. Realistically, you should be seeing a Zenyte maybe 1 in every 2 Black Demon tasks. Unless you're smart and you go 1800 Demonic Gorillas dry and never get a Zenyte. By the way, Smart is a very good friend of mine. That is his RuneScape name, SMRT. So if you ever see him running around World 386, please harass him for never getting a Zenyte drop. Thanks. Up next is going to be Black Dragons and the King Black Dragon. Now honestly, the only reason you should be killing the King Black Dragon is for the pet drop. Its drop table is not very good, it's very outdated, and it does drop the Dragon Pickaxe at a rate of 1 in 1,500, but that is pretty rare. Now the King Black Dragon's lair is located in the wilderness, but once you get into the lair, it's not actually considered the wilderness, so it's not considered a wilderness boss. In all honesty, once you get the pet, or if you already have it, you should probably just stick to Brutal Black Dragons if you have level 77 Slayer and a decent ranging level. Up next is going to be Black and Greater Demons and Skotizo. Now Skotizo is actually considered both a Greater Demon and a Black Demon, so if you do have one of these as a Slayer task, you can use the Slayer Helm at Skotizo, but in order to get to Skotizo, you have to have a completed Dark Totem, which you can get all 3 pieces from killing the NPCs in the Catacombs of Karen. Your drop rate of getting a totem piece is either going to be guaranteed if you have a superior Slayer creature, or 500 minus the NPC's health is what your drop rate would be. Next is going to be Blue Dragons and Vorkath. Now this is kind of a moot point, but if you want a lot of Slayer XP, I would suggest killing Vorkath. Now you can use a Salve Amulet that is enchanted and imbued and get plus 20% to magic, melee, and ranged. Meanwhile, the Slayer Helmet only gives plus 15% on this task. So if you don't have a Salve EI and you get a Vorkath task, I suggest you head over to Nightmare Zone, get it imbued so you can get that plus 20% because it really does help out. Vorkath does drop the Bone Tooth Necklace, and that thing is pretty much worthless and nobody uses it, but it also does drop the Skeletal Visage, which is worth somewhere around 60 mil, and the pet at a rate of 1 in 3,000. Please keep in mind you will have to finish Dragon Slayer 2 to kill Vorkath, aka the Money Dragon. Following Vorkath is going to be Blue Dragons and Brutal Blue Dragons. Now if you don't have Monkey Madness 2 done and you're looking to make a little bit more money with a decent ranging level, you can kill Brutal Blue Dragons instead of Blue Dragons. This will give you a chance at a drop of a Draconic Visage, which is a rate of 1 in 10,000, so it's pretty high, but if your ranging level is high enough, they can be better GP per hour than Blue Dragons. Up next is going to be the Dagannoths and Dagannoth Kings. If you are assigned a Dagannoth task, you're most likely going to want to head to the Dagannoth Kings, especially if you have the Fremennik Elite Diaries done, because you can get noted bones from that. Now the Dagannoth Kings do drop each of the rings for combat. The Berserker Warrior is dropped by Rex, the Archers by Supreme, and the Seer's Ring by Prime. Now each NPC here has a rate of 1 in 128 to give you a ring. The Berserker and the Archer's Ring are obviously worth the most. Warrior and Seers, not really worth it, but killing each one of them for the bones, if you have the Elite Diaries done, is definitely some very good GP per hour. Up next is going to be Goblins and General Grardor. Now a lot of people don't know this, but General Grardor is actually a Goblin. So if you head over to Turiel in Berthorpe, he is the lowest level Slayer Master, and you manage to get yourself a Goblins task, you can go to Bandos and finish that task up. you will have the bonus of the Slayer helmet, which is plus 15% to melee attack and strength, and plus 15% to ranged and magic if you have it imbued. So it might be a chance to grab a chestplate, tassets, or a hilt, and nobody really cares about the boots, but you also have a 1 in 5,000 drop rate of grabbing that pet. Keep in mind, in order to enter the Bandos section of the God Wars dungeon, you will need to have 70 strength or higher. Following Bandos is going to be another God Wars dungeon boss, which is going to be Greater Demons and Krill. I'm just going to call this guy Krill because don't even ask me to pronounce his last name or whatever you want to call that. So the Greater Demons are actually able to be slayed as a God Wars dungeon task at the boss, and your reasons for doing this might be to grab a Staff of the Dead, or a Zamorakian Spear, or possibly the pet, which is dropped at a rate of 1 in 5,000. You will need level 70 hit points to enter the Zamrock section of the God Wars dungeon. Next up is going to be the Kalphite and the Kalphite Queen. If you were assigned a Kalphite task, you can go kill the Kalphite Queen. Now, Kalphite Queen is actually pretty tough for being a pretty old boss. She does have a special attack that ignores all prayer and all armor, hitting you for whatever it's going to hit you for. Now, the Kalphite Queen's drop table isn't very notable. The best drop is a Dragon Chain Body or the pet, if you want to consider that the best drop. So if you are pet hunting, that's probably going to be the only reason you want to kill the Kalphite Queen. As for the drop table, like I said, it's mediocre. So I'll leave this one up to you. Even maxed mains have trouble getting more than 2 kills a trip here, unless you have a Sanguine SC staff and max mage, because apparently that's a thing now. And last but not least, this does require an unlock, and it can be unlocked by any Slayer Master, but only assigned by Duradel and Neve or Steve, which is going to be Red Dragons and Brutal Red Dragons. Now obviously, Red Dragons are a little hard to get to. They are in the Karamja dungeon in Brimhaven, but the Brutal Red Dragons are very accessible and do drop 2 hides and 1 bone per kill, plus whatever else that they're going to drop. So if you do get a Red Dragon task and you have this unlocked, probably going to want to go kill the Brutal Red Dragons for a little bit better money and another chance at a Draconic Visage. But if you don't have it unlocked, I wouldn't really worry about unlocking it, because honestly you can leave it locked and probably get a better task anyways. Alright guys, that is going to do it. That is going to wrap up this little video on Slayer bosses or better NPCs you should kill other than their normal variants. Sorry that the video was so long, but if you made it all the way to the end, check out the description below. I do have a cool little graphic that you can find hosted at Imager, and you can download it and save it for your reference in case you're ever wondering what you should kill instead of something else. So if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up down below. They really help the video's popularity, and if you have not done so yet, please tap that subscribe button on your way out. All of your subscriptions really mean a ton to me. Until next time guys, I will see y'all later. Take it easy.